In this video, I'm going to show you the Saryn loadout that I use mostly for Elite Sanctuary Onslaught. We developed this loadout together on my streams and over a few other videos in the past few months, and it's come a long way, so I'm excited to share it with you. Behold! Automatic spore spreading goodness. This Saryn uses highly modified Azima turrets to spread spores with Toxic Lash from remote locations. There are a few weird things on this build that will only make sense later, but the core is pretty much what you'd expect. On Saryn, I took care of max range first, and I wanted to get the strength back up so that the spores are just about always going to proc corrosive whenever they tick. That happens at about 200% strength, and I also decided that I wanted the full umbral spread because this build will fight significantly powerful enemies often, and Saryn has few natural defenses but decent base armor. Even though Toxic Lash increases block percentages, I can't keep my melee out too often because it prevents me from spreading spores as effectively in most situations. So with just the Umbral mods, so the boost the Umbral Intensify from running the whole set, and Blind Rage, my corrosive chance on spores is just about maxed out. And it's not very energy intensive to use this build because we mostly just fire off a spore and then spread it around with Toxic Lash. So Xeneric is usually enough to maintain your energy. I don't feel the efficiency is necessary. And with that, since the base duration of Toxic Lash and Miasma are so generous already, I just want to add a little bit more damage reduction with rank 0 adaptation. This still gives 90% damage reduction, but takes twice as many hits to get there, while lasting only half as long if not refreshed compared to a rank 10 copy. This is a great mod in general to finish out builds that use the full Umbral set, since they're by definition already going to have the significant defenses from Umbral Fiber that will help them survive while adaptation stacks up. Likewise, adaptation at rank 0 is just about the strongest effect you can get for one capacity. With Saryn's build done, I'm looking for the best possible ways to spread spores, as well as a good source of healing since I consider regenerative molt too slow and I don't have space for it anyway. My headliner for this loadout is the Azima, modified with negative fire rate from Creeping Bullseye and a Riven, as well as magazine capacity from Ice Storm and Prime Slit magazine. This build makes the Azima's alt fire discs last as long as possible, so that I can place them around the map and spread spores remotely without having to replace them very frequently. Toxic Lash causes a hit anywhere on an enemy with a spore to pop that spore, so this Azima isn't primarily built to deal damage directly, it's just trying to touch enemies with Toxic Lash. So Magnum Force spreads out the multi-shot discs a little bit, causing them to shoot at a slightly larger total area for more consistency. I have Barrel Diffusion but not Lethal Torrent because I don't want to speed up my fire rate too much. Just as more of something you already have a lot of gets less and less effective, more of something you have practically none of, in this case fire rate, gives you a massive effect. On this build, Lethal Torrent would give me around 5 times as much fire rate because I have so much negative fire rate, resulting in discs with only 1/5 of the lifespan and rendering the tech nearly useless. If you're going to go for your own Riven, negative fire rate is your top priority because there's very little of it available without a Riven. And then magazine capacity, punch through, multi-shot, and status chance would all be welcome additions. You'll notice that I chose to add radiation to finish off the build because if it procs, it'll control enemies by making them attack each other and, stand in place, while keeping them standing while they're crowd controlled, for a higher chance of subsequent hits from the discs. Radiation also deactivates auras from infested ancients, which can be a bit of a problem. Since I already have cold from Ice Storm, sometimes you'll get a cold proc with a radiation proc, which is good for the melee weapon and which will prolong the radiation proc since cold slows down status timers. You could use pistol ammo mutation here, and you definitely do need more pistol ammo, but ammo mutation effects on weapons don't work unless you have the weapon out, and they remove some of the advantages of the weapon by restricting its modding space anyway. Carrier's ammo case, on the other hand, is active for both of your weapons at all times, so it'll constantly restore large amounts of pistol ammo. I also brought Pistol Scavenger on Saryn because pistol ammo is very common. The ammo mutation is nice, but it doesn't affect a large percent of all the ammo that drops because a lot of it is already pistol ammo. So this way, whenever we get pistol ammo, we get even more, and wherever we get something else, it's pistol ammo. In many runs, the thing that keeps me from keeping my efficiency up is a lack of pistol ammo to make more Azima turrets. So you want to spread spores more effectively by using as many as possible, and the way to do that is with ammo case and pistol scavenger. Ammo Case even gives you more pistol ammo storage, so you can bank up more for the next wave. Speaking of carrier, it's using the Cryatra built for Blast. This instantly knocks down any group of enemies hit by it and gives carrier assist credit for each blast proc victim, which gives me more health orbs from carrier's synth deconstruct. The Cryatra is a very simple and powerful weapon, and because it does one thing very well, it's great for those of you that don't currently own Sentinel weapons because it requires very little investment, and it's useful on almost all Sentinels in almost all situations. The Artax would also be reasonable here. Eagle Eye increases the Sentinel target acquisition range. I don't know why, but this makes your Sentinel attack things that are further away, which is good because this weapon is very accurate. Now, of course, the Azima package is great, but I need to be able to spread spores quickly myself and focus fire priority targets. The IGNIS is a big, messy flamethrower with 100 munitions and viral. Since it's a beam weapon, multi-shot acts only as another damage multiplier and doesn't give extra instances of damage like it does on other types of weapons, which loses Vigilante Armaments its slot to vial acceleration. With its generous magazine and quick reload speed, the IGNIS is a great place to run some fire rate and increase its overall damage. That also does give you more instances of damage per second, which makes 100 munitions more consistent. We only have 42% crit chance, but we get that 15 times every second. Likewise, I'm using flat elementals here and taking advantage of prime cryo rounds just to get a big chunk of viral damage because we only have 29% status chance, but we get that 15 times a second and viral lasts like 6 seconds, so we don't really need more damage. Heavy caliber is here just to make it more splashy and messy. It's not really necessary, but it does sort of wiggle the weapon around for you a little bit, which is not bad. It's not really necessary, but it's not bad. And finally, we have the GALVACORD. This is my melee weapon and also my source of healing. Healing return in this loadout is pretty gross. You have Toxic Lash for Toxin, the Spores for Corrosive. The weapon innately has electricity and mostly slash and puncture, which is really good since impact lasts the least of all the IPS damage type procs. And then viral I modded onto it, which means that we have a fairly high chance of having 6 different status effects on enemies that we're swinging into. That means that a slide attack bombed into a group of enemies is likely to heal you for hundreds of health, and generally speaking, when I've got everything going, just doing one slide attack is a full heal. I know that sounds crazy, it's only 11 health per status type, but on that many enemies, pretty much a full heal. Primed Reach to make that happen. Berserker, this weapon has high enough critical chance to make it reasonable to activate this, but the GALVACORD is very slow. Even with Berserker, I think you want more speed, which is why I chose to use it specifically with Saryn, who has a little bit of Arcane space open. Arcane Strike gives it that extra speed you need, and it procs on a hit with anything, so it's essentially always active. You get 15 chances per second to get that 10% chance with the IGNIS, so no problem at all. The discs can even proc it automatically as well. Alongside that, we have Condition Overload. Obviously, if we have this many status types across the whole loadout, this is pretty likely to do a lot of damage. Finally, you can't use arc guns in ESO because you can't use your gear items, but the Imperator Vandal would be a pretty good fit if you wanted to play this build somewhere else. It's very, very good when you have a loadout like this that's so tightly packed to use a weapon that doesn't really fit into the theme in case things go wrong or you're in that build's weak spot. So for example, Saryn is handling armor mostly with viral and slash procs and with her spores. So if there's an enemy that can't be affected by those things, you might be in trouble, so it would be helpful to bring along a weapon with corrosive on it. And just the weapon for good single target damage. The IGNIS WRAITH is definitely useful for single target damage, but it's not perfect. This is a more focused and powerful weapon. And just the Imperator Vandal is great overall. Here I have a pretty standard build, just hybrid things, and then ammo chain to allow you to take it out more quickly. Because this gives you more maximum ammo, you can use the weapon more and then put it away without using all the bullets, and you'll get cooldown reduction on taking it out again based on how much of your ammo you have left. So giving you more ammo means that'll be a shorter cooldown, which is great. Sabo rounds is also a very good mod on the Imperator Vandal and a lot of arc guns. That's pretty much it. I hope that you enjoyed this loadout, and I hope that it makes sense. If you have any questions about it, let me know. But there's one big thing that a lot of people have asked, and that's what you can do to substitute the Azima if you don't have a Riven for it. And the answer is not a lot. Unfortunately, there really aren't very many weapons that fire multiple things that stay on the ground in different locations for a very long time. There are a lot of weapons that do something similar. For example, the Mutilis Cernos and the Torrid can make zones, multiple of them, wherever they like, but they don't last very long. And the Zenistar can make one zone that lasts for a very long time, but only one. So it's difficult to find a substitute, but not completely impossible. So I will talk about that again at some point, but I hope you enjoyed the concept and that it inspired you to play with your own weapon ideas. I'll see y'all next time.